How's it going, everybody? It's Krusty Old Crow back again, doing another one of my tactical perspective toy reviews on the G.I.Joe classified line by Hasbro. I just been sitting on this one for a few days, trying to collect my thoughts. Sitting on a few of these, actually. I've also been sitting on some Iron Grenadiers that, Iron Grenadier, not pluralized. That I'm still formulating my thoughts. Very impressed with this figure, but this figure, it's also giving me thoughts, and those thoughts keep changing. So I had to really sit back on this review for a bit. But I've got enough now that I can apply my different kind of perspectives and give this thing the different kind of grades I do here on the tactical perspective toy review. So today we're going to do Alpine number 133, Albert Alpine Pine. That's a bitter pill to swallow. I forgot that was his name until recently reminded. And then picking up the box and going, oh yeah, checking that file card. We're going to do that on the tactical perspective today. We're going to check out that file card like we always do. Give it that play grade, give it that tack grade, and that je ne sais quoi grade. But there you have that box. So that, yep, naming conventions there. We've got these new fake carbon fiber printed open boxes. I've started doing this on my toy reviews just because it shows you that back art that often gets neglected. That's often behind the figure in the plastic, and I'm not sitting on these things in box. So once I'm done with this box, I'll clip this up and you'll produce it to, you know, my way of remembering the line without collecting boxes. But there's that box art. You got him hanging off the back, fighting off a whole bunch of Cobra flight pods and televipers, and they want you to pay attention to the fact that they've done stuff with his t-shirt this time. And also that, what is this they want us to see? Oh, the carabiners assemblies that are hanging off his harness. We'll talk about all of that because it's part of the criticisms I have with this. What great climbing kit was there and what basic climbing kit wasn't, or reflection thereof. And just what are we expecting of Albert Alpine Pine? Is it the same as what we had back in our day? I remember having a very good time with this figure when I got it. It was one of the last figures I bought of the line, and my mother bought it for me on a day that was going to turn out to be a very terrible day for her. And I remember it was there to distract me while she dealt with some pretty grown-up stuff. And you know, like, that was the kind of connection you have with your toys over time. That's the connection I had with Alpine. Alpine was there keeping me busy so my mom could focus on what needed to be done. And it was a big deal in our family at that time, what did get done. And I always look back at that day and say, that was me and Alpine hanging out that day. Right, so there are kit differences on this. There you go, you got your primary qualifications, combat functions on there, that QR code to G.I.Joe Hell, that legal gobbledygook and all over that box. And I think we're done showing off the box. So we're going to take Alpine over to the to the display here that I have set up, and we're going to talk about them, all right? And guys, just remember, if you like the tactical perspective, you enjoy the kind of military-esque points of views I put on this thing and the different kind of critical thinking I apply to the Joe line while I read it back to the original concepts through that file card and that nostalgia and childhood memory. Don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe so that we can get that algorithm flowing and get this thing into more people's points of view, find more like-minded like us. And just remember, it's absolutely free, okay? Thanks very much. Let's go have a look at Alpine. It's time for the file card, that critical piece of information that we've relied on since our childhood to get to know your Joe, all right? So the gospel says that this mountain trooper, whose code name is Alpine, has a real name of, you guessed it, Albert M. Pine. Heavy sigh. Primary military specialty is mountain trooper, while his secondary is financial clerk. This is how the Joes get paid. It's guys like Alpine working late at night after an op to make sure all the ticks in the boxes and all the taxes get brought off and all the benefits are there. That's the guy. He's from Minidoka, Idaho, a place I've never heard of, but I'm sure is quite lovely. From the middle of the flat, dusty Snake River Plain where Alpine was born, he could see the mountains on the horizon in almost every direction, like a physical barrier between him and the world he wanted. He took up mountain climbing during college and continued as a recreational climber during his brief tenure as an accountant for a large publishing firm. The G.I. Joe team gave Alpine the most hazardous of all conditions, with Cobra shooting him. Sorry, shooting at him. Never mind. Miss a word and the whole meaning gets different, right? He's graduated Ranger School at Fort Benning. He's qualified expert M16, M14, M60, and M19 11A1. Every time Alpine scales a sheer cliff face, pitten by pitten, overcoming granite and gravity with muscle and persistence, he is symbolically climbing out of the quagmire of his past. That's why we send him up first on vertical assaults. He doesn't take to being knocked down too easily. He doesn't take to being knocked down too easily. Okay, so we got a guy with, I don't know what they mean by quagmire of the past. Do they mean like he was on a road to nowhere? Like, was he feeling tar pitted in his careers? I feel like there's a whole lot of missing gaps on this particular file card. I don't get it. And I don't remember even caring when I was a kid. So that's the file card. That's what you know about him. Let's just move on. What else do we remember of him when we were kids? If you guys had them, you're already spotting some of the stuff I want to focus that I noticed was missing right away. So let's have a little look-see and compare him back to his original days and what kit he had there as we get into our review of the head to toe and the kit he comes with today. So we'll start at the head as we always do, and we'll have a look at Alpine's head. Now, I removed the glasses and the hat once more just so we could get a better look at it, but this is what I was talking about. This is the kindly face that we had maybe recognized from the cartoon, or he was in the movie too, I believe. Yeah, if I'm remembering right. But just a very kindly soldier's face that doesn't seem very soldierly. I like the pencil mustache. It reminds me of a very World War II era kind of mustache. But the slicked back hair, right? That is slicked back. That's not just normal flow. He's got probably a lot of gel or paste in there to keep it back there, and the ball cap has helped keep that hair back very effectively. But I think what it is about this face that makes me think of like Nick Cannon or maybe Carlton Banks. It's just that it's not aggressive at all. It's almost kindly and curious, fun-loving, or just simply interested enough, but not in a stressful situation kind of face. Moving down the buck, you can see that he's got his trademark jacket. Now, this is a new jacket for the line. And then the padded shoulders are there. There's some, accessory. If you wanted to put a backpack on there, that could be the justification, as he's got the places to attach one, technically. And then, yes, we got the padding on the shoulders again. Right there, we'll have a nice look. It's hard with this light. We'll see if you guys can get that. There we are. You can see the Darth Vader-like ridging on his suits there. And then we've got some brown leather capping over the wrists there. Pinless elbows and knees, as we've seen. No problems with the articulation points that we've come to expect. And this is a pretty thin layer. I expected more interference than what this gave because the front is open. So you can get a good ab crunch on there. And there's stuff you can do for posing. He's very flexible, so there's a lot of posing you can get in there with that. And that goes all the way up and down. And like I said, the nice part about this jacket is it doesn't interfere with a lot of the ab crunch that you would miss out on, say, a second layer, like, say, somebody like maybe Flint or a Viper. Okay, so getting back to dropping things and moving down that arm, let's talk about that jacket. And, like I've shown the up down there. We'll get to the rope in a second, but open her up. Yep, the jacket on the back. We've got more of that quilting on there. We've got that hole so you could line up a backpack. Again, why did we make this hole if no backpack was going to come with this character? It's now just about reuse, right? And not about, appeal. But I like the jacket. Don't get me wrong. I think I really like this buck, actually, just to get to the point there. But then we've opened up a problem again, right? We have a t-shirt that, has the modern art of Idaho on there, and it really reminds me of Hawaiian and Californian art, like tsunami kind of wave art that I was used to seeing in California when I was there. So I was kind of surprised to see Idaho utilizes that, and I guess that's how they look at the mountains in a beautiful sunset. Very nice t-shirt, but what is going on with these shoulders down here? This is the sacrifice of having that, right? So when you don't, you had to have a trade-off. So this shirt was never meant to be opened up, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't do something to make this a more modern thin slit shirt where the black was there, maybe had a black collar, because they're already looking at having to do a retro if you want the figure you had when you were a kid. This is not, this is a modernized, updated version of Alpine, not the classic representation. So, you know, you could have modernized this t-shirt to forgive that paint sacrifice that was going on in those shoulders. Moving down the arm, like I said, you got that leather, you've got these gloves, open fingered, you know, grip gloves. And this is something I'm going to talk about when I get down to the waist belt, which is right now. Here, we got two things going on with this waist belt, and for which I have to go get one right now. Before I get into my head-to-toe inspection with the figure, as I always do on the tactical perspective, I want to focus on the kit first. Like I said, what he's coming with in this set is very interesting kit, but there's holes that one could pick in how it is all there versus what we had back in the day, and more importantly, what's missing. What you're not going to see here is a backpack, which was very much a part of the original kit, and very noticeable absence here with number 133 of the classified line Alpine. All right, they've swapped out the purpose that is. If you look at that box art, you know, he's got that backpack on there, and on top of that, it looks like he's got it looks like the barrel of some sort of Bren gun or 50 caliber mock machine gun, not 50 caliber, but the heavy support company gun from World War II or Korea, right? It looks like he's hauling a heavy weapon up that hill, which is what those guys were climbing back in the day to train to do, was bring loads up those things. Like, we're talking about characters that were created post-Vietnam, right? Which wasn't that far after Korea, and not far out before that was World War II. So these were the kind of roles these mountain climbers were filling in a combat infantry role. They were lugging equipment up slopes, helping set lines for troops to scale, right? You know, Hitler's bunker wasn't on top of a sand mountain, it was on top of a sheer rock face, right? Things like that. So if you look, already you can pick out no backpack there. What else did they change? Well, guys, they changed that dual grapple hook system, which I really loved as a kid, having the two grappling hooks tied to each other. It was a lot of fun play factor. Instead, we've got the recycled and reused ninja grappling hook that we've gotten so used to with the blue ninjas there. I can't remember who else has featured that. I think Shipwreck has well, no, he has a different version, I think. But anyways, this is a very common grapple hook, and not at all what I was surprised they didn't give us two of them tied together. No, they gave us one. Why? Because they've updated and modernized this kit with more modern pieces of climbing gear, right? So we'll get this out of the way. We've got in here his goggles, which are a great set of goggles, by the way. I was a big fan. Very clear lenses, and very nice fit over the head, as you can see while I put them on him now. Just a beautiful, they look great up or down, and I believe I might be able to fit them over the hat. Well, I don't know if I want them there, but I imagine I could shimmy them over the hat and it'd be acceptable, but I don't want to. The hat, if you're wondering, no, it's not a reprint of the Crazy Legs hat, which I have offset here. I'll just grab that. Right, it is a different cap than the Crazy Legs cap that came with the Dragonfly recently. I thought maybe they would try and get away with a repaint, but no, it's a complete different cap. We'll get rid of Crazy Legs' cap. Very nice. It's got that padded feature up the line there. Very nice little cap with the rank insignia up there, the chevrons there. We'll put that back on his head. All right, and we're establishing our mountain climber character. He's starting to look a lot more like what he used to, but he still looks like Carlton Banks to me. I can't get rid of that image. A little bit of Carlton Banks, and I can't remember who else. Who's the co-host? Nick Cannon. There's a bit of Nick Cannon and a bit of Carlton Banks in this face. And I think that's just because they did such a good job of making him the friendly face like he was back in the cartoons, and reflecting him more realistically. That's the kind of friendly face you have. There's no aggression in that face, but we'll look at that a little bit later. What they modernized that kind of upset me a bit, besides, you know, one grapple hook where there should have been two, no backpacks when there should have been one. The cable gun that he fires, they cheaped out, and I say cheap out as respectfully as I can be because it's pretty on the nose. They cheaped out. They used the same old grapple gun we get with every Alley Viper variant there is out there, and a few others have come with this gun. It's a two-piece gun, you know, and they didn't even include, as they never do, I think with Snake Eyes, they didn't, none of them, they did it. They didn't even put any line there. They put line here, but they don't put line here. And if you look at, again, the original Alpine, his gun actually really kind of featured a spool of cable on there. It was a big part of it, and I think that was an opportunity for them to do something really great with Alpine's gun, and then failing to do so to save cost, right? And because they wanted to do only a couple of original things. They were spending a lot of the time giving you a really cool buck with some accessories, and they pardon me, they upgraded something I will draw eyes to in a second, that I think is great. But one thing they also did is they picked a new weapon to give him based off, like, this is the same one I believe they gave Torpedo and a couple others. Just a simple SMG. I believe the 60th anniversary diver might also have this one. I'm not too sure. I can't remember. But they've painted these and they look nice and it does match him and everything. But where's he going to carry these? You can't just fit these under the rope, right? Like, it would have been nice if they had little carabiners to hang off of. That would have been a cool feature, something that slings them off as carabiners, maybe even actual slings for once if ever you needed one, or I don't know, a humble little backpack that could hold these. But nope, nothing. So these are weapons that get left behind on the ground as he ascends. The pickaxe he had as that you might remember from his original days, or if you've got the original, you can look at it, has been evolved to these beautiful, new updated picks, new designs. They've got really good paint details on there. They didn't cheap out on these at all. I love the kind of how one's got grip tape and the other doesn't. I thought that was kind of really cool. That's his preference. That's his number one pick, or that's the pick he's got to replace soon. And the other one is, his number two pick. Very interesting that they did that. The rest of them are mirrored to each other, but that really is two separate molds as I see it. You know what I mean? They've done them two separate ways. Anyways, I can see these making their way back into the line as we get into more winter characters. Joe has a few yet to be seen. Cobra still has more yet to be seen. So I am a fan of these upgrades. But what did they come at the cost at? They came at the cost of the backpack. They came at the cost of the cable gun. Was it worth it? It better be. Let's have a look at this buck. All right, before I move down to the for the Swiss harness belt that he comes with, I want to talk about this rope for a second. This rope is also, as far as I can tell, a newer sculpt to the line, something else they've developed new for this character. It's not a repeat of Shipwreck, nor is it a repeat of Storm Shadow, who is also released in this wave. There you can see Storm Shadows is a much thicker lay on the cross over there with the way that his rope is laid out. That's much thicker. It's a completely different decorative rope, clearly. This one has knots on the back and the side and some interesting cut-in slack. Like, it's definitely well constructed to look different and unique as a coiled rope for Alpine exclusively. And no, before you say it, it's not a copy of Shipwrecks, who has that peg and recess for poly. Although I wish they kind of did keep something that they had on Shipwrecks, which is, of course, that extra hook on the back. That would have served Alpine very well for him to have somewhere to set his grappling hook, right? Which is, like I said earlier, different than Shipwreck's anchor, but it would have benefited that, especially with the absence of a backpack, right? And I'm not going to let the backpack point go because it's part of that. Although the way that this belt is now, right? And this is the next feature I wanted to draw your attention to. This belt has its function for storage, but it's very limited. You notice how the carabiners that they wanted you to pay a lot of attention to are all closed out. You can't slip anything or hook anything into them. They are strictly decorative, and they are to really make you buy into him being a rock climber, right? If you go to the back, what you've got some nice loops and everything that you can take certain pieces of kit. I found that I could take whoa, as I almost knocked my camera, I could fit that hook through there. I don't really like it like this, but I could fit it through here, and it would hold, right? No problems accommodating that. What I think they were really meant for to do is for the pikes or the pickaxes there. There's climbing axes as I knock Storm Shadow over. Video's not about you, Storm Shadow. Don't forget to check out my Storm Shadow video if you haven't. Anyways, I know a lot of people have a lot of Storm Shadow videos at this point. You can see that that's what it served to do there. As I knock his hat off yet again. His hat does fit far better. I just can't help but knock it off. I'm like, what's up, Carlton? I'm your bully. Anyways, what I wanted to talk about with this backpack and where I think they really kind of, I don't want to say phoned it in, but missed an easy point to do to make this character better, was this rosin bag on his back. Climbers have to rosin up their hands, with the dust chalk there. It gives them extra dryness on the hand and grip, right? It's for, it's important for them to do it, yet we have no indication that that's in there, because most rosin bags, you would see some powdering around the edges and things like that, or at least on his hands, which is, to me, the biggest travesty. If he's got a rosin bag or, whatever the powder is that climbers use for their hands, I'm pretty sure it's rosin. It should have been represented here with some dry brushing of some sort that it's spilling out. It should have been on his hands, which is just another big problem I have with this is we only get the one set of hands. Both of them are grippy, shooty hands, right? And they can hold what he's been asked to hold, right? They can hold the weapons because nothing else on him can hold weapons. They can hold these new designed picks, no problems. These pike axes there, or ice pikes or ice spikes or whatever we're calling these axes. He can hold everything, no problem. But can he free climb? Why couldn't we have gotten some hand selection with this guy? He's a rock climber. It would have been great to get 2 more sets of hands. You could have borrowed them from Coco, Mutt, anyone else. Clearly somebody with open figure gloves. But I think they missed an opportunity for some storytelling with this guy by only giving him the one set of hands, when clearly, when you're a climber, your hands are your biggest tool in identifying features, what's in them and what you're doing, right? And and without the free climb, I think half the storytelling gets untold, right? And they changed so much of his kit already. I would have liked to have seen, like I said, the white powder resin on his hands. I would have liked to have seen different sets of hands. But I do like some of the kit, like these axes that they've given him. I'm a big fan of those. But I'm going to show you, like I said, I'm not a big fan of this gun being reused for him, when in the original, the gun he had was actually probably more reflective of what we've seen with low light carting around in his hands. When he doesn't have the sniper rifle. 60th anniversary sniper has that same one, I believe. I think they could have gone with that and maybe done what they wanted to do with the paint, and that would have been more like the original. And again, this grappling gun, I think this grapple gun was a missed opportunity that should have been addressed. So, the rest of them, great pants. I love the painting on the pants. I don't care that if it's reuse or not. I like these pants. His boots are another thing I took issue with, and I'll talk about that in a second as I change the camera angle for you and give you a reason why I'm not a big fan of these boots for him. So these boots are something about the buck that I wasn't really a fan of for Alpine, considering how many other changes they made to modernize this climber, and considering how far they went out of their way to kind of make him less aggressive as a soldier and an infantry and more park rangery. I almost feel like that's the only way to describe him, is more like a park ranger than a soldier. I find those boots tell the tale of an infantry, like it's the same song and dance with Joe Boots. Give us a cool looking boot with some technical covers over the laces, and cover those laces. People don't like laces. Well, I'm telling you, people who are active like laces. We don't get tread on the bottom, but we get a little bit on the toe there, by the way, which is kind of a cool toe detail. But having these cover, when you're a sports kind of profession like mountain climbing, the odds of rolling ankles and things like that are very, very high, right? So having things that cover your bootlaces that prevent you from emergency medical treatment for rolled ankles or broken ankles. Getting out those laces so you can cut them and get that boot off and right away before the swelling kicks in. I just don't buy into it. I feel like it's a mistake to do those. All right, but the rest of this buck from head to toe, I was very happy with this buck. I thought it was a really cool buck. It just was absent the extra hands, and I didn't like that they, if you're not going to put a backpack on there, cover up that damn hole, right? But yeah, overall, I think I'm ready to give this thing a play grade and attack grade. So as I show you a close-up of the boots there, we're going to get into that play grade, and I'm going to tell you right now, with the changes to the kit, I think they took part of the fun out of the character of Alpine, and they made it less fun by kind of regurgitating the same old stuff we've had since Snake Eyes. We've had since the Alley Viper. We've had forever. They did give us some new things that were worth appreciating. I really do like the climbing spike axes there. The carabiners, I think they've overemphasized how cool they are. I think they're fine. They're not the best, but they're cool enough. But one of the subtle things I wanted to point out was this harness. It's got the same loop feature. You could feed lines through it. You could have some great climbing dioramas and whatnot going on with it. And they really made it very compatible, and the timing was good with the current HasLab release of the Dragonfly. As you guys know, Glenda in the Dragonfly comes with an extra harness, and now you can see, they're both set up that they could use that winch on the harness, and maybe you could even, if you weren't happy with just the Swiss harness that he has and you want to give him a more industrial rig, you can give him the harness that came with Glenda, which I'm showing you is on my torpedo right now, and really get into all of that, right? I think it's a really nice cross-compatible piece, and I think this was incredible timing for our buddy Albert Pine to come into the line. Regardless of the kit issues I have with it, you could say it's all going to get fixed in the retro, right? But that really, I can't help but I've got to say it, like Hasbro has weaponized retro in lieu of selling figures, right? You can it's called double dipping, guys. It's building a classified that's very close to what you remember, so your nostalgia still kicks in, tweaking it so it's different, and then telling you if you really want that nostalgia, if you really want it, that's what the retro line is for. I can't fault them for it if we're buying it, right? I can't fault them for it if it's a success, but it is not subtle at all. And like I said, it is basically pardon me, weaponized double dipping. Anyways, let's go with a play grade. I'm going to say 4 out of 5 on this. Without that backpack, you really can't cart around as much as you would want to with this character, as much as you could back with the original Alpine. And they took fun play features away from making this not familiar at all to him, but everybody else. They took fun play features away by leaving this as 1 instead of 2. And nobody cares about the guns anymore because they're just reprints. There was nothing, they didn't even get the reprint right for this gun, right? So where all that attention went to is probably where it should have. It gave you a good head sculpt with a nice cap and glass set that you can remove, and it's really well done. Gave you a new rope, gave you a great buck, a really great buck, honestly. I have no issues with this buck except for the boots. But yeah, we kind of skimped out a little bit on hand features. There's more paint on this than you think there is. Like I said, that leather padding on his wrist can almost go unnoticed. But where they said they wanted you to focus, I almost wouldn't. Like the carabiners just aren't that big of a deal that they should take so much pride in, as opposed to, 2 individual ice pickaxes. The way the rope is actually different. The clarity of the glasses, the beautiful paint on the t-shirt. There's other things we could be focusing on. So on the play grade, I'll give it that 4. On the tack grade, again, this guy does not look like a mountain infantry or a soldier in any way, as much as he looks like a park ranger, right? So I almost don't buy any military sense to this guy. And really what would have brought the military sense to him would be the backpack and a gun hanging off of it, right? But until then, what Hasbro has accomplished is to build an action figure that could be made appealing to kids if they don't see the guns on the side of the blister packaging. You can get a park ranger figure, you know, it's got that, you know, or more peaceful appeal for a character, much like Barbecue or Lifeline would. So, you know, the tack grade, does he look like a climber? Absolutely. The simple Swiss harness, the carabiners, you know, more or less the right equipment. You could justify not having a backpack actually frees him up to move up mountains faster and lend assistance, and you'd be right. He's more than prepared to go help out guys like our old 60th anniversary soldier who maybe fell in the wrong area. He's ready to climb out, help them out, and you know, not be burdened by his own kit. So you could give him a tack, I'd say, of a 4 and justify. But again, I'm not a mountain climber. There could be a severe absence of stuff there, like no oxygen tank, no first aid kit. You could go on. But I really feel like that red rosin powder would have been a nice add to this to really improve it. So on the Je ne sais quoi grade, I'm just going to give them a mild 2.5, which is right down the middle. I feel like what we got with Alpine was an interesting enough character. He looks like a great buck, but the kit is almost like in your face kind of highway robbery as far as what they don't include and what they decided should go in there and then cover it with paint. I'm not really happy with the kit that was with him, but not everything can be new kit like those pickaxes or the rope, right? But it's just, you know, should the focus been new rope? Maybe we would have been okay with a reprint of Shipwreck's rope. I don't know. We never really asked that, you know. But do we appreciate this new rope for Alpine? I also don't know that. You know, was it a worthwhile expenditure? No idea. So I'm going to go with a lukewarm 2.5 on that Je ne sais quoi as we get ready to end this one out. I hope you guys like this review today. I still do have the Iron Grenadier on deck to get done, as I've only been able to acquire the one. And then from there, it's going to be checking out the Cobra MMS and Techno Viper, which I finally ordered from Hasbro Pulse the other day. I haven't done a review on that yet, as I haven't had one. You can expect that in the near future. But we're also doing some more interesting side pieces like we used to do in the Bad Day. In fact, I'm currently working on a couple of concepts like best ofs list that was requested by DMAC and others, and also a reading of a book that I'm working on the side that's very Joe related, and we'll talk about that once we're ready with that one. But guys, thank you very much for joining me today for this tactical perspective. Thanks for the likes, thanks for the shares, thank you very much for you subscribers, new and old, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Oh, and by the way, for you Americans, happy Thanksgiving. All right, take care.